He's there. Is he muted?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right.
And that fantastic mustache.
Thank you very much. Oh, wait.
All right. I don't know if John Losey's joining or not, but two pieces of breaking news before we introduce Tuma and get to all of your accolades and accomplishments and cool stuff that you've done. Did you guys hear Michael Sowers decided where he's going to school?
Saw that. Yeah.
I never liked Duke.
High Point?
Yeah, not High Point. He's going to Duke.
Yeah.
No bueno.
Yeah. Hey, man, I tried. I got a master's in criminal justice information assurance that puts a lot of people into the FBI.
Yeah.
Boys like the FBI and the Ivy League and all that stuff. Don't think I didn't try.
Hey, might as well.
And then did you guys see Hopkins announce their new head coach?
Saw that as well.
Yeah.
So
are we recording?
We are recording. Do you need me to pause it so we can talk about?
Yeah. Let me hold on a second. Let me put the dog in a different room. Max.
No comment.
Yeah, we'll save that for second thoughts, or we'll save that for afterwards.
Well, it's not going on second thoughts either.
Yeah, I totally pick on you for that, but totally respect it in the fact that it's a very small fraternity, and there's a lot of people that hear things and say things, and we don't want to put your professional career in a tight spot for any reason. So Tuma, as we are kind of going to get to this, I'm curious to see the domino effect, because Cornell's got a hole to fill. And it seems like every time one of these high-profile jobs gets opened, there's a domino effect in the coaching fraternity. So you got to High Point a year ago. You know, I don't know if that's going to affect you at all. But before we get into all that, let's at least introduce you, because while a lot of us know who you are, I don't know if everyone that watches this knows who you are. So Justin Tuma, assistant coach, High Point University. Mm-hmm. Graduate, three-time All-American at Roanoke.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Graduate Bloomfield Hills Losser, played for Bloomfield Hills High School under Brian Kaminskis.
Yep.
Okay. Currently living in North Carolina.
Yes, sir.
All right. And so I wanted to get you on specifically for the fact that there are not many Division I coaches in lacrosse from Michigan.
No.
As far as I know, the only head coach is Chris Colin, who's on here with us. And then there, I think, are two Michigan native assistants, you at High Point and Chris Cooper at Colgate. Am I missing any, or are you guys the only three?
That might be it. To my knowledge, I think we're the only two, Chris and myself. But there could be others, but to be honest, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I know we've got a number. I know, like, one of the Plasky brothers is down at John Carroll now as a grad assistant, and we've got a number of guys. Carl Zimmerman at Trine as the head coach, D3. Michael Shane Halls, I finally pronounced it right. Hope College alumni, Hope College coach. But you, I think, have a unique story in that you have kind of paid your dues along the way, and I was kind of, wanted to pick your brain on that, as well as you being one of the last of the dying breed of the true, five-tool player midfielder that wasn't a fogo, but a guy that faced off, a guy that played man up, a guy that played on the offensive lines, a guy that killed penalties and everything else in between. So as I'm kind of going through your resume, do you know John Losey, our third man in the booth?
Hey, John, how you doing?
Good, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I like that jersey behind you.
Oh yeah, the captain's up there. We talk about changing it out, but we have not gone there yet.
There are some things that are timeless, and Iserman is definitely timeless.
Well, really, my background is timeless. He's just a part of it.
This is true. He should be honored to be on your wall. So, Justin, let's jump right into it. How long have you been at High Point? What's kind of your main responsibility within the coaching staff there? Start with that, and then I'll keep asking you questions.
Yeah, so I spent a full year here last year, and then obviously the season was cut short, so about a year and a half, year and 3/4. So I'll be going technically on my third year at High Point.
Okay.
I am an assistant coach and defensive coordinator. Work with, pretty much all defensive players, the goalies. I don't coach face-offs too much anymore. That was, I did quite a bit at Ohio State and Princeton. But, here in at High Point, I, mostly stick to defensive players.
Okay. And then I was going to get to that as kind of a follow-up with your role being the do-it-all midfielder. Do you like coaching the defense? Would you prefer to be working more with the special teams, or did you want to stick with the offense?
No, you know what? I actually really enjoy coaching the defense. I really liked it as a player. I think most of my offensive output was generated through facing off and then transitioning the ball from defense to offense. I would stay in and, play some 6-on-6, but I would say that a majority of my points came in the middle of the field. So to have that background and then coach the defensive side of the field, it's nice to kind of teach that, not necessarily the 6-on-6 and the offensive systems and stuff like that, but more so like how to get the ball up and out and when are good opportunities to push it, how we can create some offense off the face-off and getting the ball from the defense to defensive side of the field to the offensive side of the field.
Nice.
But with that being said, being a defensive coordinator is not easy, and it's super frustrating sometimes because everyone it seems like has a hard offense and can score in a multitude of ways. And the teams that we play out of conference all have very good offenses. But that's fun. Week to week, it's fun to see different things and figure out the best way to try and defend it.
Nice. And so right before High Point, you were with Ohio State, or were you with Princeton right before this?
Ohio State, just for a season, and Princeton also just for a season.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I went down to do my Laredo at Ohio State, running into you down there, it's one of those things, just the facilities, the gear, just laundry tubs full of custom branded STX gear everywhere in the locker room that we were using. You guys definitely had quite a budget there. With Ohio State, working with that program, did you focus mainly on face-offs there, or were you part of the defense there?
Mostly face-offs and goalies, which was, that was my first time coaching goalies. After college, working at Roanoke for a few years, I kind of learned how to coach goalies because Coach Pilot is like one of the best goalie coaches in the country.
Yeah.
So I had an idea of what to do, but it was a cool experience to kind of take, 3 or 4 guys and devote that much time to a position. Goalies and face-off was kind of my expertise at Ohio State, and it was a fun year. It was incredible. Like you said, I mean, it's they definitely give you the resources needed to be successful. And anytime you're coaching at a Big Ten school with, Big Ten football and everything's just heightened. It was really cool.
Well, and the facilities. I mean, that, we've been down there for that team camp, a couple of years in a row, and just all the space and field after field after field after field. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's cool. And the lacrosse program's super fortunate. They share facilities with the football team. So, you can, when I was there, it was, Urban Meyer's walking out to the field and, you're seeing them walk by and you're seeing these behemoths walk by and they're absolutely dominant athletes. And it's just cool to be around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, very impressive. Going back to your time at Princeton, so were you part of the group that recruited Michael Sowers, or was he already there when you got on the scene?
No, he was a freshman when I was there. So he was previously recruited, but got to coach with a couple Roanoke guys and Pat March, who is now the offensive coordinator at Syracuse, and Matt Madelon, who's the head coach. He was a goalie at Roanoke. So it was 3 Roanoke guys, and defensive coordinator was Jesse Bernhardt, who's an all-world defenseman. So it was a fun year.
That's
a lot
awesome.
Of fun. And the player, Michael Sowers was just as good then as he is now. He's incredible.
Yeah, very impressive. So, as we kind of work this backwards, before Princeton, were you down on staff at Roanoke just before that?
I was for 3 years. Yeah, I coached the offense at Roanoke for 3 years. at my alma mater with Coach Pilot, and that was kind of where I cut my teeth in coaching, and kind of got my style a little bit, how I talk on the field, and that was a great experience as well. And that was I did a ton of recruiting there, so it was cool to see. I was there for 3 years, so I was able to see some classes matriculate and get to coach guys and get to know them for that extended period of time was awesome.
Nice. And then how did you get down to Roanoke in the first place as being recruited out of Bloomfield Hills?
Gosh, I think it was weird because back when I was in high school, there wasn't many club teams or travel teams to play on. I think I was playing with Champion travel team. And long time ago. Yeah. And
you're still just a kid to me though.
Yeah. One of the guys I was playing with on the Champion team, Tom Raleigh, I think he ended up playing at Bellarmine and maybe went to Onondaga for a year, but he played at Troy Athens, and his Athens team down to Ohio State's team camp. And college, that's where the Roanoke assistant at the time saw me play and, recruited me, and, went down there and visited with my mom, and, absolutely loved it. And, the rest was history. But
so there's a little 6 degrees of separation thing here. So when we had Paul Cosgrove on a couple nights ago, we were talking of just lacrosse in general, and we were asking him about playing out in Vail. And Team Michigan's goalie was your coach, Bill Pilot.
Really?
From Roanoke. And then Cosgrove files it up and says, Tuma, that guy can hit the ball a mile. So I don't know if you still talk to Coach Pilot, but ask him if he remembers playing with Paul Cosgrove next time.
I'll ask him. Yeah, next time I talk to him. Yeah,
that also brings me to one other story that I have to verify, that I've been told this, that your bus rides at Roanoke, an old hazing pastime was to get the recruiting DVDs of players and put them in for the teams to watch. And yours, you got made fun of because you had golf highlights on it.
Yeah, I had hockey.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, stop.
I have DVD somewhere. It's in my office.
Hidden. Keep it hidden. Put it on YouTube and make me a sensation.
I have it.
We should have had it for this. You could have just shared the screen, Coach.
I couldn't get down on campus on time. I know exactly what file cabinets it's in. I know exactly where it is.
Oh yeah, it had hockey, lacrosse, and golf on it.
The putting is impressive.
Yeah. I would, it was funny because I didn't know what I was doing in high school. I had no idea. Like, how do you get recruited to play college lacrosse? And I don't remember who told me, but someone was like, they like multi-sport athletes. So I guess I, threw in the
putting. His putting now is very impressive, but his putting in high school was
a little shaky.
Were you an all-American golfer too?
No. I was just on the golf team.
Were you all conference? Were you pretty? You were pretty good though, no?
I was pretty good. We had my junior year. We were like 4th or 5th in the state, which was pretty cool. But no, I wasn't. I didn't get any accolades on the links. I just hit it far, one way or the other.
And did Lasser have a team back then? I mean, was it Lasser's team? Because you went to Lasser, right? Yeah, for lacrosse.
It was combined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was combined.
I got to say, with them moving Lasser and Andover as a combined team into one Bloomfield Hills High School, I don't know how often you get back, but what Jerry Meter's done with that program is really impressive.
So I've heard. I've emailed back and forth with them a couple times, just to catch up with them, and I follow them. I'm glad that they did that. Glad that they did it.
Yeah, I will say this about Jerry. He does not do, I think, nearly as much of the X's and O's as he just sets the culture and the tone there with those kids. Sure. I've gone to their banquet to give them the Mishloa Sportsmanship Award in the last couple of years. And those kids, you'll never worry about them talking back, chirping an official. He's got those kids locked down. And when he's competing in that conference, he does a lot with the talent that he has. So, yeah.
We actually, just to let you know, I was actually over at Lasser about 2 weeks ago. So we get because that field's open, and so we get a lot of Rice kids that'll go work out over there if especially during the lockdown where it's just open to the public. And so we'll have kids going over there. I go over there and walk the track, and my son will go out there and shoot and goof around. So
that's great. I'm glad they're keeping it because that field is really nice.
Oh yeah, it's great. And you'll probably see a lot more once here in Michigan once June 1st hits. And the MHSA allows people to play again. Hopefully, as long as the social distancing and the gathering is banned, you'll see some people over at Lasser playing lacrosse.
That's great.
Yeah. So we don't really have a format. We don't really have an agenda for this. It's just kind of free flowing conversations, and we talk a lot about COVID. We talk a lot about the lost season. We talk about history and stories and all that kind of stuff. I really wanted to kind of get your take on face-offs in the game. As a guy that's probably taken more than any other guest we have or will have in the history of their lives, do you look at the face-off right now as being okay? Is it broken? Does it need to be fixed?
That's a tough one. I do have a very opinion. I have an opinion on it for sure. I think that the face-offs, how they are now, are fine. But I think we're trying to, like, you have two crowds, right? You have the crowd that's like, we don't really need face-offs in the game. It's too specialized. I want to get rid of them. Let's just, after you get scored on, pull the ball out of the back of the net and go the other way, make it more up and down. You'll get more scoring. You'll get all this stuff. Then you have the other camp that is so pro face-off that, it's like you can't take it out, all that stuff. So my thought is that you have to change – you got to keep the face-off, but you have to change the mechanics of how it's done in a way that solves all the plethora of issues that everyone has with it. And they actually did it in the PLL at one point this summer, and I've always said it. They should do it exactly, officiate it, and replicate it exactly like a hockey face-off. Have two guys stand up there. Home team gets to put their stick on the ground last. You drop the ball, and you pick it up. You can move before the whistle, but if you do it too much, you gotta leave the you gotta leave the circle. And I think that solves a couple things. What's that?
Go ahead, Coach.
To your point, the stats were exactly the same for Baptiste against whoever he went against. I can't, not off the top of my head, but on the ground and in standing up, same statistics exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I think when you do it like that, it makes it way easier on the officials. First off, secondly, you're gonna have the same results. You're still gonna have guys that are better at taking face-offs than other players, just like in hockey, right? And it'll allow one guy or two guys on each line to be able to take the face-offs. And again, they're probably going to trend towards 50%, but you'll have that guy or two on your team that is above 60% because he's so good off the ground. And you'll see the best players in the game taking face-offs.
Right.
And you can still practice it. You can still have face-off camps. You could still have a section of your camp with a face-off guy that's going over ground ball work and, techniques. But I just think of how cool it would be to see Zach Currier take a face-off against, whomever, Paul Rabel or Baptiste or, one of these guys that's fantastic off the ground. And it would allow more people to be involved while still keeping the face-off and doing everything. Like I have not found one person that can give me like a reason as to why it's a bad idea.
Yeah. And let me, I don't know the stats as they did it with the PLL, because I know one of the things we've talked about here is, the time that it takes, right, to take it out of the goal, get it to midfield, get everybody set, and then proceed. Did this speed up the game when they were – I wasn't paying attention enough, from a time aspect. Did it speed up the game?
I don't know. I would assume it would.
Chris? Coach?
I don't think it did. I mean, it was an all-star game. I don't think it moved any faster.
Yeah.
I think if you wanted to move the game faster, Justin, what do you think? If you want the game to go quicker and go up and down, get rid of the reset on the shot clock.
Right.
It's simple. You want it to go up and down. You want the ball to go each different way. You want to get done quicker. The game gets still gets slowed down by 90 seconds getting reset. I don't know about doing different. Did you see that they were thinking about doing 60 seconds on the second one? That's too hard for the student worker that's working the clock to deal with. I think you just set it once and that's all you get. And whether you hit a pipe or not, or a goalie, whatever the situation is, the ball's going to go the other way.
I think that'll
It'll be too hard for Druin. I mean, Druin working the table. I mean, that was just flipping chaos.
I think.
Thanks.
It'd be easier.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, if they reset it to like 30, if they went if they dropped it to 60 and then the third time dropped it to 30.
Yeah, but even with the shot clocks, it's like, I guess it's an issue resetting to specific numbers.
I'll say this in defense of the kids working the table.
We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it, Chris. It'd be so hard for us.
It's not the people at the table, and I've seen this at D1 games I've worked the table at, D3 games I've reffed, NAIA games, MCLA games. The technology, these wireless scoreboards, everyone's trying to buy the cheapest one out there. And I would say, I can't give you a number, but I will say this. It's far more often than I have a game with shot clock malfunctions, miscalculations, whatever, than I have a game that goes flawless with no shot clock issues. And it's not the kid at the table. It's this one isn't getting the signal. This one fell over again. This one isn't getting power. The softball used it last or something, and it's set to the wrong number. If you're going to have it reset to multiple things, it's a nightmare. The number of times where we've had a silly something or other where there's a shot, doesn't hit anything, we don't reset it, and the kid hits the button by accident, and we go, no. Shot clock had 26 on it, reset it to 26, and they can't go and hit 2-6 start. They actually have to set it back and let it count down to 26 so we can then go, it's – and again, I say this every podcast. As the ref, we're not the guys asking for a shot clock. We're not the guys saying the face-off is broken. We're just the guys trying to be there to facilitate the game and use the rules and the technology that we've been provided. I'm not the guy saying the face-off's broken. I didn't think it was broken back in 1988 when we did it that way. But, I've been digging deep into the YouTube rabbit hole of old games. There's not many games where you see a Kyle Harrison taking a face-off, then going down and playing offense, or a John Reese from Yale taking the face-off and then going down and playing offense. You have more and more of these specialists. So I know that the specialists
I don't think it's
the game.
I don't think it's broken right now, but it is like, when you're losing face-offs at a 70% clip, it's like that's
it alters the game.
Yeah.
It alters the game too much, right? I mean, there's you want to have an advantage, but to that degree, I think obviously it puts the value on the specialist, on the face-off guy. If you got the best face-off guy, you can change the game at any point in time. But yeah, I get it.
So I want to, Losi, I don't know if you realize Tuma's career at Roanoke, but I'm going to give you his senior year stats, and your jaw's going to hit the table. So 21 games, 26 goals, 28 assists. That puts him fourth on the team in goals, second on the team in assists, third overall in points, while also collecting 200 ground balls, winning 60% of his face-offs, taking 428 face-offs, and winning 257 of them. How is your back not completely shattered and in shambles, and how do your knees still work?
You got to pick up the ball one-handed.
Thanks.
You do exactly opposite of what your coach always told you. Pick the ball up one-handed, and your back's fine.
Good to know.
Yeah.
I got to say, as I was looking at some of your, kind of reading up on you a little bit, the academic piece for you, where you were, you carried a high grade point average all through school. And I thought that was pretty impressive, as I look back and it seemed like you did everything right. Like Roanoke was a great fit for you. That you excelled in the classroom and you excelled on the lacrosse field and, went back and coached at your alma mater. I mean, so it seems like lacrosse has really been a great path for you in a number of areas.
Absolutely has. And honestly, I think the play style, I don't think I would have fit in anywhere, at least at the Division III level, as well as I did at Roanoke, just how we played. We were scoring my sophomore year. I think we led every division in scoring, was like 18, 19 goals a game. And I had 30-something points as a defensive midfielder. And that, if that gives you any indication of how we play, that's how it was. And
like the run and shoot.
Yeah. I'd say over half my assists in my career came off of a face-off or, running some transition, going from defense to offense. So it wasn't, I wasn't a 6-on-6 offensive power. I was more of just like pretty good on defensive end, could pick up some ground balls facing off and, could run and shoot, couldn't hit the net. I might have the worst shooting percentage in the history of Roanoke College. That's probably not in the stats, but
don't you 21%.
Pretty bad, see?
26 goals on 124 shots.
Whoever tells you not to I shoot 8 times a game and you score 1 or 2 goals, that's a pretty good day.
Now, in your defense, you were still better than Trey Keeley, who shot 132 times for only 25 goals. So
yeah, he was my roommate. We went out shooting together, so that's probably why.
So collectively, you guys were the room itself was the worst shooting room in the history of Roanoke.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure.
I want to get back to something Losi mentioned with the academic side of this. Did you go into your senior year thinking, geez, I really hope they'll let me hang around and I can start coaching? Or were you already planning on going out and starting a corporate professional career? Like who gave you the first chance to put the whistle around your neck and say, hey, we think you're good at this?
So I wasn't really sure what exactly I wanted to do. And it just so happened that my mom found an ad in Lax Power to go play, coach, and go to schools in England.
I forgot about that part of your life.
So after I graduated, myself and one of my other roommates went over to Durham in the UK and went to Durham University, played for their lacrosse team, did a little bit of coaching and kind of just, went to school and played lacrosse for 9 months. So I ended up going and getting a degree, a master's degree in England and still playing. And one of the players on the team played for J.B. Sheridan, who is the head coach at Randolph-Macon.
Okay.
And at that time, I still wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I still wanted to be involved with lacrosse. And, through coaching in college camps and all that stuff, I figured, hey, coaching might be a good route. And interviewed for an assistant coaching job at Randolph-Macon on Skype while I was in England and got the job. And as soon as I got home, come August, I was in Ashland, Virginia, coaching my first year of college lacrosse.
Wow. So, that's not a normal transition from player to coach to go to be that Reggie Dunlop player coach for 1 year.
Yeah.
Especially over there. Do you still keep in touch with any of those guys?
I do.
Did you recruit any of them?
What's that?
Did you recruit any of them to come to the States once you got to?
No. So it's funny. So there's this, imagine the NCAA in England, right? They call it Bucks. It's British University College Sport Championships, something like that. And all these schools participate. And Durham was at the top of the pack, but they could never beat I can't remember the name of the school over there. But anyways, so they started recruiting a bunch of American players in every sport. They recruited lacrosse players. They recruited basketball players. They recruited volleyball players to come over and get their degree and play. And you could do that over there. There's no eligibility issues or anything like that. So I was on a lacrosse team with 14 other Americans and probably 15 players from England. And we just dominated. I mean, we didn't lose a game. We played the English national team, Irish national team, team from the Netherlands, Germany, won every game, won the British University National Championship. But yeah, I still talk to those guys all the time. A couple of them are coaches, and we still keep in touch. So I didn't recruit any of those players to come over here and play, but it's still a pretty close group.
I found their Durham University Men's Lacrosse Friends and Alumni Facebook page, and I'm trying to find photos of you playing there. But,
there's a highlight tape of the national championship somewhere on YouTube. Nice. I could probably find it.
That'll be fun. That's cool.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
it's really awesome.
Just the whole experience. I mean, again, I didn't even know that piece of it as I was reading up on you, and then to add that into it, to get a master's overseas and experience England. Yeah. Shit. I mean, it's a charmed lacrosse, journey for you.
No doubt. Lacrosse has given me a lot, and that year was, that was one of the best years of my life. That was absolutely incredible.
Your mom finds this ad in the paper, and she puts you down this coaching path. If you don't want to answer it, tell me, Jerome, shut up, and that's fine. But you went from getting a degree to getting a master's degree to getting into coaching to getting a paid coaching job to then, I believe, you stepped back and did a volunteer coaching job at the D1. Is your mother sitting at home going, Justin, you have all this education, just get a job?
That's my aunt. My mom's all for it. My mom and my dad are like my number one fans. They, any place that I go or any decision that I've made in the coaching profession, they've been all for. So every place I've been, they've come to watch games, and my dad buys all the hats. And I think going from a full-time job at the Division III level at my alma mater, that seems like the best fit it could possibly be. But I wanted to wet my beak in Division I, and I took a pretty big leap of faith as a 28-year-old kid to not be paid for a year, but it was a great experience at Princeton and Ohio State, and now at High Point, I'm absolutely loving it.
That's awesome. Yeah, every time I've heard of because Kaminskis keeps us updated on what's going on in your life, and I keep track of your Instagram and stuff, and every now and then something will pop up where you're somewhere else, and it's really impressive that you've had that gall to throw your head over the wall and go get it and just say, yeah, I'm going to make the jump. So hats off to you. And like I said, we're gonna have to get a hold of Chris Cooper and get him on here. And then we were trying to expose the women's game as well too. John Sung, the head coach down at Virginia Tech, he wants to be on. He'll hop on as well. So I'm all in favor of people from the Mitten going out there and making an impact in the game of lacrosse.
He's great. Cooper's awesome. He's a great guy too.
The traditional stick I still play with when I coach my son was a Chris Cooper strung twig from back in the day. So, yeah.
He's a lax rat, man. You get him on here, he will talk X's and O's with you if you want.
No, you ask one question, that's all you get, and then he's gone for an hour.
He's all in.
We may have to have a schedule where you may have to just mute him.
One question with Cooper, that's all you get. And then he's
going to be talking about Pear's offense for 2.5 hours.
But you're right, man. That kid, coming out of Waterford, Michigan, playing for Waterford United, and now he's a Division I coach.
Mm-hmm.
He found something he loved, and man, he went all in.
Yeah.
So, as we're kind of talking about some other people from around the area, you have coached or played for and coached with and coached for Brian Kaminskis. Mm-hmm. Any good Kaminskis stories you want to share? Because we're going to have him on again soon.
Oh gosh. Oh, man, that's a good one. I'm trying to think of one where I can throw him under the bus, but there isn't any because he's the man. Let's see. I mean, I remember like maybe freshman year. Well, let me put it to him this way. I'll always give him crap for it. When you're a freshman in high school, all you want to do is make the varsity team. And I think he would take maybe one, possibly two kids per year from the freshman class up to varsity. And there was another kid on my team in my grade, I won't say his name, who was pretty good. He had long hair, pretty good skills, but there's no shot in hell that he was better than me. And Kaminskis took him up from, it was like the second day of tryouts, and this kid already made varsity. And I was sitting there pissed off. And it turns out, I don't even think he played past his sophomore year. But then I ended up making the team as a sophomore. But I like to give him crap about that because, I had a pretty good college career and pretty good high school career, and he didn't take me as a freshman.
Well, and what's shocking is that your parents didn't transfer you to Brother Rice and then, start a social media campaign to get him fired and.
Yeah, well, hey, it was good for me. Maybe work harder.
Hey, it worked for Jordan.
Yeah.
So as we're kind of digging through here, Chris Colin, you recruit.
I've got a battery of questions.
Let's go.
Should I start?
Rip through them. Let's go.
Can only keep two: lacrosse, golf, or fishing.
Lacrosse and golf. I suck at
Fishing.
I suck at fishing.
Suck at fishing? Okay. How many times during the season, during your year and a half, have you beat Kenny Brochard into the office?
Oh, God. I could count on both hands. Yeah, he's always in there. First one in. I got to really try hard to get in there before him.
Yeah, he's nuts.
Yeah.
You are my second favorite coach on the High Point staff, which I like the High Point staff a lot. Who do you think my favorite is?
Connor Mckinney.
How'd you know? Oh, he totally is.
Try to trick me.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's a beast.
I love him. Yeah, he's incredible. If anyone wants to just type his name into Google, it's an incredible story. But I can listen to this guy talk.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the best voice of anybody I know. Sorry, Lex Losi. You've got a great broadcasting voice. But this guy's voice, he should be reading audiobooks. He should be doing – I don't know what he should be doing, but his voice is magic.
It is magic. Yeah,
and,
it's very majestic.
He's probably one of the coolest guys I know, and has one of the coolest stories I know. So I'm glad you got that. That's all I got, guys. So that's all I had for my battery questions.
Okay.
Battery, that was two.
No, I had three there. I had three.
Yeah, I got some. So, I think, keeping it in context with your, really your lacrosse carpet ride, if you could put it, I would think that, in terms of recruiting, that you're able to really, as you're talking to a high school player, and they may be between, do I play D3? Am I good enough to play D1, or am I going to sit here? Where the best fit is. I would think that, with your experience and seeing, just everywhere, right? You've seen it at the big time program. You've seen it down at Roanoke. You've seen it, at smaller places, and obviously overseas as well. Yeah. Can you talk about how that really has helped you, in your recruiting?
That's a great question. It has definitely helped me because, like you said, the spectrum of schools academically that I've been at and athletically that I've been at are different. And you work at a place like Princeton where you're coaching and interacting with Ivy League students is completely different than working at Ohio State where you're dealing with a different type of person and player. It is also nice to have the Division III background at Randolph-Macon and Roanoke because I can kind of scale players in my mind. All right, this would be a Division III All-American. certainly if he could be a Division III All-American, he could be a really good Division I player. Or, you know what, this is a guy that's good enough to play Division III, but he probably wouldn't play a whole lot, you know, at the Division I level.
Right.
And you can also kind of cater your recruiting talks, because I've experienced some of those things that guys are looking for in terms of, you know, academics. Obviously, an Ivy League education is top notch. So, you know, I know what it takes, or what it took for those guys to succeed academically and athletically at an Ivy League school. I've also experienced, you know, a college football Saturday at Ohio State, and you know, how that can be a big distraction, how, you know, but it's also cool to have right in your backyard if you want to go catch a game. And now at High Point, I'm kind of experiencing everything, right? You have a incredible campus. You have a school that, you know, has a lot of resources, especially towards athletic programs. So you kind of get a blend of both. So I could definitely pull from past coaching stops to kind of navigate recruiting conversations with guys a lot easier.
Yeah, it makes you definitely marketable. I mean, that's the thing that strikes me as we sit here and have this conversation. I just learn about you. You know, in the move to High Point, were you looking at other schools? Did you have other opportunities that you were taking a look at to make the jump from Ohio State to really you know, the full-time gig?
Not. I had other opportunities the year before, but I knew, because when I was coaching at Roanoke, I would come down and work camps at High Point all the time. You know, it was like one of my major recruiting stops that was kind of off the grid, you know, from the East Coast, Baltimore, DC area stops. So I really got to know Coach Torpy, got to know the staff, got to know kind of how they operated, got to know some of the players that were working camps, and knew that High Point, if it ever became available, would be a spot I would love to work at. And it was a spot where, with a head coach that I would love to work for, which is just as important. So I knew when it popped up that it was something I was interested in, and it just so happened that, you know, Coach Torpy had given Coach Myers a call when I was at Ohio State, and, you know, in the next couple of days I was down here interviewing, and you know, we hit it off as I knew we would, and you know, an offer was made, and I knew I wanted to be here. So
that's awesome.
All right. I got to ask a follow-up question, because as soon as Losi asked other opportunities, Colin started giggling. I don't know if you noticed that. Is there a history there? Did he try to recruit you and give him the Heisman?
Well. I noticed that as well.
I'll let him tell that story if he wants.
Yes.
All right.
We'll leave it at that.
All righty then.
That's one for over cocktails, I assume. I did want to ask you too.
Justin was very well thought out. We did pros and cons on a lot of different things, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yep.
Justin made very good decisions on everything he's did. He's very well thought out, and has made great decisions. So
thanks, Chris. I appreciate that.
Well, and it goes back to the same thing. I mean, you know, the game keeps giving to you, right? You're giving to the game, and the game is continually given to you in terms of, you know, the right fit, right? High Point comes up, you get that. You know, it's just it's very fascinating to see the blessed lacrosse path that you've had, and you know, it's very cool.
I'm very lucky, no doubt.
You know, we had Bob Bowery on Thursday, and you know, Bob talks about giving back to the game and the fraternity of all that stuff. So it's definitely good that we have more of those good guys in the game that, you know, as Colin is giggling about it, you know, he didn't try to sell you. He did the pros and cons with you. I don't think there's many D1 coaches that'll give you that much time.
Hey, Colin has given me just as much and as quality of advice in this profession as anyone. So I'm thankful for knowing you.
Great, good lie.
I'm serious.
Can we go down one path real quick? Because I think it's important for the people and the kids and the dads and moms listening.
Yeah.
You had a lot of confidence to go to a Division III school, because really in the Midwest here, you know, everybody thinks big state school. Everybody thinks Division I. They don't really.
Optics.
They don't really look at the plethora of opportunities and educational situations in Division III. What gave you the confidence to find that right fit? Because I see a lot of kids around this area that would do so good at a small Division III school.
Yeah, and they'd rather take the D1 and say that they're going D1 and then not play, and then
or not play at all.
Right.
You can have a wonderful experience where you can develop as a human being, and I think you had such great confidence out of high school. I think it comes from a lack of confidence is where I think it comes from. But tell us kind of where you were at that moment, and how you kind of made that decision, because I think that'd be valuable for people to know.
So I had an interesting path out of high school with kind of the school. I mean, I was looking all over the board. I was looking at, the classic Michigan State, Michigan. I was looking at the Naval Academy for a time being. I was looking at a bunch of different Division III schools from Michigan all the way down to Virginia. And every stop along the way, a bunch in Ohio, Denison, Worcester, a bunch of different places. And I'm thankful that my parents guided me to look at everything and not be set in Division I or bust, because they didn't care. Division I lacrosse, I was a hockey player. Like they didn't know what was going on. So any piece of recruiting material that I got in the mail, I explored. And that was the biggest piece. And when my mom drove me down there to look at campus, obviously the campus was great. I got to know some of the players, which was cool. But the biggest piece of advice that was given to me in terms of playing was from Coach Pilot on my recruiting visit. He said, when you're watching practice, see if you see yourself out there. And when you see yourself out there, ask yourself, am I the best player? Am I the worst player? Or would I be somewhere in the middle? And when he said that, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because if you go out and look at practice and you're like, I'd be the best player out here, you probably should aim a little bit higher.
Right.
If you look out there and you're like, I'm the worst player, then you probably need to set your sights a little bit lower. And if you find yourself right in the middle, that's a place you want to be, because you can compete and you have room to improve. So when I went out there and watched the guys practice, I was like, oh, these guys are good, but that guy over there, I think, I could be above him in the depth chart, or, I could see myself at practice and having success, but not too much success right away. So that's kind of what happened. And once I saw practice, I was like, all right, I love the school, love the, academics. I like being down south. My parents can still drive to come see games, and it's a top, 20 school perennially. And, I could see myself playing here.
Very cool.
That was awesome.
Well, thank you.
I wish everybody thought that way.
So one thing that we do on this podcast is we try to ask people about the game in Michigan, what we need to fix, what U.S. Lacrosse Michigan needs to do a better job of, what they want to do to get back involved. It's kind of hard to put the screws to you to say get back involved and help us out when you're living in North Carolina. But, as you are, I just looked at your roster and saw that you did have Luke Capetto from Brother Rice. You had a kid from Upper Arlington, but there weren't a lot of Midwest players in the roster. Are you looking, with your experience here as well as Brochu's experience coaching in Michigan, are you guys looking to tap into the Midwest in Michigan more? Or is it just, hey, we're on the East Coast, so we're going to get the East Coast kids?
No,
Stay in North Carolina.
What's that?
Stay in North Carolina.
We're always looking. We're always looking. And any coach will tell you that, but I mean, that's the truth. I think it just so happens that, a lot of the East Coast kids get just way more exposure. And Michigan's starting to trend in the right direction, I think, in terms of the summer and the fall, seeing those kids. For me, I don't know if it's still a thing. I remember, this could just have been a myth, but like, are teams allowed to travel out of the state during their high school season?
Close.
300 miles.
Let me answer that.
To me,
So,
that is that's what's holding like the perception of Michigan lacrosse back.
100%. You know,
Like-
I do the scheduling for Brother Rice, and so the MHSA has a 300-mile row, which means a school can travel 300 miles from their doorstep, 300 miles.
Yeah.
Then the other school can travel 300 miles and meet them. But
Right.
That's so. You know, I when I took over this role at Rice, you know, I planned a trip, and we can go to Buffalo, New York, and we can play upstate New York teams.
Yeah.
And we could essentially go to Pittsburgh, and we could get to teams in Maryland. It's just they got to drive 230 miles when
Right.
they've got 6 teams within 3 miles.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So the upstate New York thing, we had another one planned this year, but that got nixed. But I think that'll be a consistent thing. But other than that, it's hard to do.
Yeah. That's got to be hard. I mean, that to me, I would think would be if there's anything worth fixing, it might be something like that. Because I would love to see Brother Rice travel to Calvert Hall and
Heartbeat.
for play a weekend with Calvert Hall and Landon. Like that would be sweet.
Yeah, and I've gotten close. I've gotten some, where we've got 2 teams from Michigan and 2 teams, Calvert Hall or McDonough to meet us, at in Pittsburgh. And I think it'll happen at some point, but it's just hard to do. And we got to do it early in the season before they get into their league, because they those guys make trips down to North Carolina, and so they do drive.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work, and it's not fun to do.
I believe it.
I goaded Victor into meeting Rice up in Buffalo when Victor had that 50-game winning streak, and so we met up in Buffalo, and it was me throwing out Sergio Perkovic's name and like, hey, listen, number of state titles, come and meet us, and thankfully they did, and we're starting to get a little more of that, but it's hard to pull those teams from Maryland away from their.
Well, I would imagine it being even harder for teams not with Brother Rice, on their uniform.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no question.
I'm sure what Justin said about the perception. That 300-mile rule is not let. I mean, there was probably 15 to 20 teams in Michigan that if they could get outside of that rule would give just unbelievable amounts of opportunities for kids all over the country.
No question.
It's incredible to me. And I mean, from a selfish standpoint, personal Detroit standpoint, the 300 rule helps me immensely because guys in North Carolina, so many people aren't seeing the talent that's out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, in the state of Michigan, University of Michigan to whatever is the NAIA school was the last place school in Michigan could stay just in the state and have quality players. University of Michigan all the way to whatever that school is on the other side of the spectrum. And they're just not getting the opportunities to be seen the same way that everyone else is seen. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you, Justin. I don't like it, but the right thing to do is to let them go play.
I'm with you.
So let me ask you this then, because when I think about lacrosse hotbeds, I think about, everyone thinks about Baltimore, Long Island, Philly, those kind of places. You've got at least 3 Division I schools in North Carolina, in Duke, the University of North Carolina, and High Point. Duke and Carolina being recent national champions. Is the high school ball emulate that? Is high school lacrosse huge in North Carolina? It doesn't seem like we hear a lot of studs coming out of North Carolina, or am I just blind to it?
No, there's quite a few. It's I think North Carolina's trajectory as a state probably resembles Michigan's, but
No question.
But maybe slightly ahead just in terms of major cities, like Charlotte's. It's big in Charlotte. It's big in Raleigh. And there's definitely some schools here with some serious talent. I know we go to the state championships. But, yeah, there's definitely some players down here. But very similar to Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, you've got – because we've actually we've had – because we can travel, as long as you've got a connecting state. Like we can go down to Cincinnati. We go to Cincinnati and play St. Xavier, and we play Moeller, and we go to Columbus UA. And so, there's a couple of teams in North Carolina that will come up, and I've tried to schedule some games with Louisville St. X as well. And so there's a lot of that continuity between those southern teams, David, and North Carolina. We can't play them, because they're, they'd have to, the whole 300-mile thing. But, so I go through and I look at some of the teams, and it's very, very similar to Michigan, as you said.
Yep.
Okay. Colin, I know you always have a food question on deck. So what's your food question?
I actually don't this time. Okay.
On the fly food question.
Hold on. I'm going off the cuff here. What's your favorite golf club in Michigan? What's the golf club that you? What's the name of that place?
My favorite golf club in Michigan?
No, what's the one that you play? What's the one that you play off right off of with the condominiums? You play at that one? What's that country club called?
Pine Lake?
No. Where you fish? You fishing? Where you fish all the time?
Oh yeah, I've never played that course. That's private. I scoot in there to go fishing. That's about it.
Got it.
What course is it? What
I don't even know. I think it's a 9-hole country club in the condos.
What course in Michigan that you haven't played that you'd like to play, private or public?
Oakland Hills South. I've played the North course, but I've never played the big dog.
Lucy, can you make that happen?
I can't. Well, we got the redo going on, so it'll be the new South. So
New South.
We'll have to keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, let's do it. I've seen the Titleist hat, so I'm itching.
Done and done. One thing I wanted to talk about. Brother Rice has got a senior heading down to Roanoke next year.
Oh, really?
So he'll be So he's a 20, and he'll be heading down there. And I was just texting with his dad. I'm good friends with his dad, and he said that on his name's Jay Fry, on his recruiting trip, your name did come up during his recruiting trip, and so they're using you, to help sell this kid from Brother Rice, just as an FYI.
That's great. I love that there's a BR guy going down to Roanoke. I can't remember. I don't know if I ever played with. I played with a couple with the Birmingham kid.
Home kids have gone down.
Yeah, East Grand Rapids.
And you're not the first. I don't think you're the first Michigan kid to go to Roanoke.
No. Josh Rea from Cranbrook, Steve Furdock.
Furdock went. Matt Graham from Country Day went in the 80s. He was a goalie. How about that? That's my.
I like that.
That brain.
That's going back.
Elephant.
I'm surprised that they're using Tuma to sell. I thought for sure Reed Kaminsky would have been the guy that they were going to push.
Reed, yeah, I recruited Reed.
I just put it out there, and I got back. Oh yeah, I hear he's quite a player, and they used him in the recruiting of Jay Fry, so he will be there next year.
That's awesome. I'll have to watch him.
Yeah.
My really good friends live next door to Reed's mom and dad, or did. The parents, empty nesters now, have sold the house, but I got Reed updates over the years from them. Chiropractic school, I say he might be done by now. I don't know.
Really? That's great. He was. I know he was a good student. He ran into some trouble with concussions and stuff like that, but he was another one. He could do it all. I mean, he played midfield. He switched him over to long stick, and then he started facing off with a long pole, and he was like 60% as a pole face-off. It was incredible. He's the best pole face-off guy I've ever seen. Not kidding.
He was the same year as Alessi, and I always said if we could kind of have best athlete of the class, Alessi versus Kaminsky, they were both stud safeties on their football teams. Both of them won a state championship in football, and then we're do-it-all midfielders for the lacrosse team. Just great players.
Yeah. Alessi had a heck of a career.
Yeah, Alessi did okay too, I guess.
He's a good golfer, too.
He's a good golfer.
Good golfer.
So as we kind of, keep these to an hour-ish, is there anything that you think that lacrosse in Michigan needs to do a better job of, or we need to focus more on, or is there anything that you would advise kids that want to get recruited D1 or want to get D3? It's kind of an open forum. Is there anything else you want us to talk about?
No, not really. I think, I kind of said it earlier with, you like kids setting their sights high and try and play the best school possible, but to not turn anything away just because it's not the name that you wanted or expected. explore everything. And if exploring everything means just checking it out online and seeing what programs they have and what the lacrosse scheduling is like and where their kids are from, and that's enough for you to make a decision that you're not interested in that particular school, then so be it. But don't throw something out just because. So that'd be my advice, would be to just, guys in Michigan, because Michigan guys are at a disadvantage just in terms of the amount of exposure that those guys get. And there's a hell of a lot of good players in Michigan. So get out there and, you'll find your spot. Eventually, you just got to keep looking.
Right. And you got to work hard. I mean, it's really a grassroots type thing for the kids in Michigan, that they got to go out there and sell themselves, because they're not going to have the same opportunities, especially during the high school season. And it really, in the bigger picture, it takes away somewhat of the high school season when they are limited to playing, their league, right? So you only got 18 games, and so you got 12 of them wrapped up in league games, and then you got 6 outs. And so, it's a hard thing. There's been 3 Brother Rice kids in the last, 5 years that have gone to High Point. So I'm interested to know, what that connection. Now, you had Nick Andoni who left and transferred to Michigan and didn't play at Michigan, but he was down there playing lacrosse at High Point. We talked about Luca Petto, and then also Cam Gould was committed, never made it down as well. Anything I know you've just been there, but really, has there been a Rice connection down there, or is it just kind of the way it's worked out?
I don't know what the Rice connection was prior to me being here. Luke graduates this year, but really enjoyed coaching him, and he was a captain for us. Great kid.
To be honest with you, Losi, what happened with those kids, and I'm guessing a little bit here. I'm not for sure, but I know High Point was pretty represented at the. Remember, you guys used to do the thing with Oliver.
With Nally. Nally. North American Lacrosse Invitation. A lot of those
got picked up from the Nally.
Yeah.
And that, so there's another thing that the MHSAA, kind of squashed and took away some opportunities for kids. So I know most of those kids. I'm not so sure. Capetto, I think, was more of a longer process, but
he was because he originally committed to UMBC.
Right. So
he might have even played there. I can't remember. Yeah.
But I do think I know High Point was always at the Nally.
Yeah, that Coach Torpy talks about that one a lot, saying that was his favorite.
Because I ran the last one, right? So that's when I kind of started doing my thing over there, and Culver, Hill, Rice, Upper Arlington. Just down the line and it was awesome. And then the state of Michigan broomed Hill, and then broomed Culver, and then that thing died by the vine. Yeah. So now, you can't, even in the state of Michigan, you can't play the top teams, right? So it makes it hard for a recruiter. I get it. To come up from North Carolina, what game are you going to go to, right? What are you going to do?
Yeah. Those games were fun. Those were some great games out there. Like you said, how many kids from all the other Michigan schools that got to play in that weekend? Lake Orion was there one of the last years, I think.
Yeah, I got them to come because we had to fill in. We had a team from Buffalo that was going to come in, and they backed out last minute, and so I was able to. That was before Hebert, the head coach there, so I got them to come in. So. Oh yeah,
Brad Harris, I think. Brad Harris played lacrosse for UDM. Brad something. That was those things that those Lake Orion kids had a chance to get recruited because of how many of the High Points drove down there to see Culver, Hill, Rice, and Upper Arlington. Yeah. Those are some really good games. So as we kind of wrap this up, it's still Coach_Tuma on Twitter. And High Point Lacrosse, go follow all of them there. If you're not a member of US Lacrosse Michigan, US Lacrosse yet, please go join. It's uslacrosse.org. We're putting all these online. We're having some fun with them. Coaches this week, I think Tuesday we have the University of Michigan women's coach Hannah Nielsen on. I think I think Thursday we might have Christiane Sims on, and she's been on the board for U.S. Lacrosse Michigan for a long time. She sits on the national U.S. Lacrosse board for diversity and inclusion, and has been a rock of lacrosse in Detroit through the PAL and 8 Mile Lacrosse and all that stuff. And then I think this weekend, Summer Aldred's going to come back for round 2 because we can't get that file converted, and I want to make sure that we're giving the women's game enough attention. So we've been kind of dude heavy this last week with the Cosgroves and Bowerys and Tumas. So we're going to be a little bit softer next week, and we'll get Hannah, Christiane, and Summer on here.
Those are some tough ladies. I don't know if it's softer.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm scared already. So.
Well said. All right, boys, I'm going to go. I got to get up and get workout in the morning. I'm getting fat, so I'm committed to it. We see a new me on Tuesday. Something. I don't know.
Tuesday? You're going to do it that quick? How much are you losing in 2 days, Drew?
I'm going to shave. All right, guys. Have a good one. We are no longer recording.